Hi, I'm Joanne Steinmiller, and I am a research technician 3. I work at CMU, Carnegie Mellon University. My name is Joanne, and I work at CMU, and I particularly work at Mellon Institute. And if you don't know where that's in Oakland, if you saw the Batman movie where they had the big fight, that's where they had the fight. So what I do is I make mice. And what we do is we take the mouse DNA, and if we want to alter the mouse, we'll take different strands from the DNA, chop it out from here to here, and then put it back together, grow it up, send the strand to our manufacturer. We have 3. We have Jackson, Charles River, and Harlan. And they insert it into the embryos, and we have our mice. If you take the DNA out of the stream, it's called a knockout mouse. And if you insert, then it's a knock-in. Kind of simple. So this is just one mouse that we make. None of our mice have ever seen the light of day. They are germ-free. We test our mice every 6 months. We are regulated by USDA. There are just certain things that you're not allowed to do. And some organizations, which will remain nameless, try to tell people that we're mean, we don't care about the animals, we do horrific things to them. To do my job, you really need to like animals, because you see them 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. There's no way that you cannot like them to do your job.
Question. When you said they haven't seen the light of day, does that mean that, what does that mean?
It means that they were born in a lab.
Okay.
They were shipped to wherever, any university that needs them, and then when they come into our university, they go into an animal facility. And so they've never seen the light of day. The interesting thing is Jackson did a study on their mice, and they found that even though our mice never saw the light of day, they get the moon pull. So there's more water in the boxes. They play with the water bottles more often, and they're just jumpier. So
when you say moon pool, maybe you guys know what that means?
full moon. There's studies saying that when you have a full moon, then people will do weird things.
Do you think that that's true?
Oh yes.
Have you ever combined the DNA of a mouse and a fish or some other
No.
animals? What would happen?
You probably would get maybe if the animal would survive to be born, because sometimes if the genetic string is so weird that it just automatically aborts.
I mean, say if you did it with something that was like similar in nature, like fish and another type of fish, can you do that? Or,
Yeah.
but you can't do like a lion and a fish.
No.
Yeah.
No, because
A lion and a tiger, and you just come up with a lion.
right.
Genetically related enough, okay?
But you can probably do a zebrafish and maybe a bass fish,
Yeah.
and you get a new line of fish. And that's how all that evolves. So
But you essentially make mice.
I make mice.
Okay.
Oh, I have a question.
Sure.
Do you like put the mice through the testing, like the maze, and they can? Yeah, Flowers for Algernon. Have you ever seen that book?
No.
Well, they like put these mice through a maze.
Mhm.
You guys do that?
No, what we do is our group does epilepsy. We study that. So if you never,
Is it like seizures?
yes. And so, and different people have seizures differently. So what we do is we alter the mouse that is more susceptible to seizures. And what we're trying to study is what the brain does when there is a seizure. So what we'll do is we'll grow the mice up, then, yeah, and we extract the brain, then we slice it, and we do electrode shocks to the brain to see where it peaks and where the valleys are. And
Kill it. With a hammer.
now you sound so much like my husband. That's how he tried to kill the mouse in my house one day. No, usually we take CO2, put it in a chamber, and they fall asleep and then they suffocate.
Who knows what CO2 is? Okay, what is it?
It's carbon monoxide. Is it carbon dioxide or carbon monoxide?
Dioxide.
Dioxide. So you put it in a chamber, and they just fall asleep, so it's painless?
Yes.
Okay, so no smashing of the head,
No.
okay?
Do you ever induce seizures, like while they're alive? Soon enough?
Yes. We're trying different drugs to see.
What about for like strobe lights? Since most games have the labels like may cause a seizure.
No. That may trigger a seizure, but your brain has to be susceptible to it.
Oh, okay.
So your DNA has to be altered to be susceptible to epilepsy.
Can you alter a human? Like if I was like, hey, take my DNA and take his DNA and like, hey, I got like his muscles. You got my body. No, you got
You
like,
probably could. I mean, that's
yeah, I got his legs. He got like my face.
but there's people that are trying to change like the hair color or eye color.
Yeah.
Like the designer babies.
Yes,
all the
exactly.
diversity.
Mhm.
Like Michael Jackson.
Or just when they made, was it the goat or the lamb in Switzerland? Was it?
Dolly
Yes.
with, yeah, the sheep.
Mhm. So,
Right.
I mean, anything's possible.
It's just, I think it's a question of should you.
And that's where, like the USDA, they're ethical, our ethical brother. You know, they tell us how many mice we're allowed to have in a box, and what the temperature in a room has to be between 72 and 77. And for nude mice, it has to be higher because they don't have any fur. So it has to be warmer for them.
So your main goal is you're studying
Epilepsy. Yes.
And with the ultimate goal of, what would your research be ultimately to try and find?
A cure for it.
Are you able to use like other animals other than mice, or is it just because they're like so small?
Well, mice are most like us with epilepsy. There are certain animals that are more conducive, like beagles almost have the same kind of kidneys and liver that we do. So investigators doing that kind of study, they'll work with beagles.
You'll kill a beagle?
Yeah,
Why? They're really cute.
well,
All right,
You
guys,
have
so
to-
what
you-
are some other questions that you have, that are relevant, that have to do with, what her job is and her research that would be appropriate?
What did you major in college to get this degree?
actually, I'm going to college now. I've been doing this for 25 years. And when I started, you didn't need a college degree. But now you do. And so I have 3 people in our animal facility, and we're all going to college. So,
How did you get to learn how to do that without, did you have training or
Yes.
was it on-the-job training?
it's on a job training. When I first started, my interview was, do you like animals and can you pick animals up? I've worked with mice, rats,
What's the difference between mice and rats?
rats are that big, and mice are that big. And I've worked with pigs, I've worked with baboons.
Are baboons mean?
No.
No?
Oh well, I shouldn't say mean. They're the closest to us, and they have their good days and bad days. They're more inquisitive than anything.
If you were to test like seizures on a mouse, and you were supposed to trigger it by light, wouldn't that would they triggers differ because like it's a humanized disease light different from a mouse body?
Our study, we don't think that the light triggers. What we think there's different layers in our brain, and we think that there's a particular level that is induced.
So what do you think the triggers could be for a seizure? Because we have a girl that goes to school here that has a dog, right, that is able to pick up on her seizures.
Right.
So it's like, do you know what that dog's picking up on?
In the mouse or the human, when you're starting your epilepsy, your body changes. The temperature changes in your body. The levels in your brain changes. And that may be what he's picking up.
Okay. So in the mice, you're looking for things like that?
Yes.
To see if the temperature is different,
Right.
causing the seizure and so on and so forth. Okay.
How much money do you make?
I make $32,000 a year.
2,000?
32.
Oh, 32,000.
So,
But with working at a university, you don't make as much money as you do at a chemical company. But what we get is better health insurance. Our children can go to college for free. And to go to CMU per year is $54,000.
does that include room and board?
No.
Plus room and board, which is another.
And books.
So you're talking about 60-some thousand dollars a year times 4 years, which is more than $250,000.
Yes.
Crazy.
And that's if you only go to your master's. If you're going to do bioscience, you need to get your master's. Then you have to go for PhD student and then a postdoc.
If you want to do that. Do you all understand like the bachelor's degree versus a master's degree? Because some kids do, some kids don't. A bachelor's degree is 4 years, okay? And a master's degree would be an additional, usually 2 years. And then a PhD can vary depending on how long it takes for you to do your thesis and your research. So you would be a doctor, not like a medical doctor, but a doctor of whatever it is that you're studying.
Mhm.
So you can work your way up to different levels.
Yes.
Okay. I think he had a question.
Hmm.
I'm just wondering where you're at in your research. Are you trying to isolate a gene that causes epilepsy, or are you trying to like create a drug that will prevent epilepsy?
Actually, we're trying to do both. Because what you have to do is, first you have to identify the gene that causes it, and then you try to find a drug that will reverse it. So,
How far along?
we are close to finding the gene. So, and this, Allison's been doing this for 12 years.
Like, do you think someday you'll be able to like do it with like other animals, like humans or something?
To alter the epilepsy?
Yeah, alter, like if someone like had like a disease, like you can go in and fix it.
Absolutely. Because just like the vaccines, it all started with animals. When Dr. Salk was trying to find the vaccine, he did animals, and then it just progresses up to medical trials.
So you have to prove in a mouse first that it's safe, that it's
Right.
effective, that it works, and then you can have some human clinical
Mhm.
trials, right? Clinical trials is where you're just kind of taking a small sample of people to see if it works.
Yes. And when you do that, you're regulated. Everything has to be precise. And if you're good at taking notes, or if your organizational skills are wonderful, that's a avenue that you should go into.
How do you get the like mice to have epilepsy? Do they just like normally have it, or you have to like do something?
Well, what we do is, like I said, we chop out where we think the gene is to have the seizures. And when we make the mice, you have to cut their tail because that has DNA. Then we do the genotyping, and it tells us if it's a wild type, which means it has that gene. A het or positive, that gene is knocked out.
Couldn't you get like, instead of like what you're doing with the mouse and like making it have epilepsy, wouldn't you be like, if you had an actual mouse that had epilepsy naturally, couldn't you like do the same thing but do it backwards?
But the ratio to that is almost like in humans. Because you have one girl that has epilepsy in your school. How many kids in your school? So you have one out of how many?
I don't know. A lot.
So for a company to make mice and to see if it has one out of, let's say, 800, they're not going to, it's not feasible for them. But if they can hit the gene, knock it out, they can produce so many more mice that have the epilepsy. And it's conducive to research.
Does that make sense? Good time. How many of you have had biology in here, by the way? Raise your hand if you've had biology. Okay. So if you haven't, some of the words that she's using might not make as much sense, but if you have had it, some of these general words more sense. So it just kind of depends where you're at. How many ninth graders are in here? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, how many 10th graders? What about 11th? Okay, 12th? Got one senior. And anyone interested in doing research? Okay, so we have got a couple people interested in research. So when you went to school, you did not need,
No.
you just learned on the job, right? But you've been doing it for a long time and things have changed now. So now
Yes.
there's certain qualifications or certain types of classes you have to have. So to do what you do now, if they wanted to do that, what would they need to do?
They would need to major in bioscience at college and get your master's or bachelor's. And a lot of times at the universities, once you hit your third year, you can go into labs, and that's a class, and you get credit for it, and you can start doing experiments.
So at this point, you can go to community college for 2 years or transfer into a 4-year
Yes.
school. But what she's saying is you really need to have a very strong foundation in the biological sciences. You probably need some chemistry
Yes.
as well.
And math.
And math. You need to have good organizational
Mhm.
skills. You need to work well with others. You need to be able to handle animals.
Well, no, I'm not sure about working well with others because I
Okay.
don't.
Okay.
So,
So maybe not. Maybe you do more independent work.
yes.
Okay. So, you know,
And normally what the PI does is they give you projects and you have to work on your own, because the PIs that work at CMU, they get millions of dollars every 5 years from the government. And you have to apply, and if you're not good at what you do, you don't get a grant. And part of our fear is at 2 years into your grant, they have to start thinking about their next grant. And if they haven't produced any new information or something interesting for NIH to want to give the grants to them, then I don't have a job.
so the grants are really important.
Yes.
NIH is National Institute
Of Health, yeah.
And are they the ones that grant?
Yes.
They grant the grant. So
Yes.
a grant is money for a certain amount of time to do research. And if you don't produce the research that they want to see, then that grant goes away, there's no money, and what happens to your job?
It goes bye-bye.
It goes bye-bye. So research is really important, and showing results, whether or not they're
Yes.
effective or not, is also really important. So
Right.
You have to really be on your game.
Right.
And collect the data and make sure that you're following, I'm sure.
There's protocols, and
Sure.
and NIH actually goes through those too. And at any moment in time, someone from the NIH can come in and audit you. So you get millions of dollars, say $5 million for 5 years. And there's probably 3 different categories. There's research, there's salaries, and there's equipment. And you have to keep good records, because at any moment they can come in and audit you and say, what did you spend your money on? And it can't be a 70-inch screen TV or video games or things like that.
What other questions do you all have?
There's assigning topics to people, or like assigning subjects that people have to research.
Hmm?
If you know that you're not strong in that subject, and let's say you know someone in a different subject, and they are not strong in their subject, and vice versa, like he's strong in this one.
Hmm?
So can you ask to switch positions?
Yes. And what you do and you're talking about students, correct?
Or like even in like the workspace that you're assigned, like given
Well, for me, I work for Allison Barth, and that's it. If I wasn't thrilled with my job and I knew an investigator that I was more interested in working for, when a position opened up, then I can apply for that position. But for students, what you do is you can visit for a week in that lab and see what they're doing. And if that interests you, then you have to talk to the investigator and say, I would love to work for you. And normally Allison takes 4 or 5 students a semester.
What do you, for your job, what do you do on an average workday?
Well,
Hear that he asked, what do you do on an average workday with your job?
normally I check for pups. I have, well, I should say we have, about 7,000 mice in our facility. And depending on what people need, I can cut up to probably 60 tails a day. And I make sure everybody has food and water. I make sure that the rooms are up to temperature. I clean boxes. And on some days, I scoop poop.
Gotta be a lot of poop for 7,000.
Yeah, there is. And that's why I say you have to like animals, because sniffing that stinky stuff is not always happy.
So do you work in like a team, or is it just you?
There's 3 of us. And at Mellon Institute, we have 1 animal facility. And we have 8 rooms. And we have 12 investigators. And I work for Allison, and she has one of the larger rooms. I have 234 boxes in my room right now.
Is Allison an investigator?
Yes, she is.
PhD?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she is part of, and I'm not sure if you guys had heard about the Brain Hub that CMU initiated. And what they do is they're going to collaborate with University of Pittsburgh, Oxford in England, Japan, and India. And I think they have $80 million that they're going to distribute to different investigators to learn about the brain. Because no one really knows what the brain is capable of and what it actually, how it functions.
Is Allison the one that decides what you're going to study?
Yes. She has, in each university, you have an IACUC. And that is probably 7 or 8 different people. And some have to be PhDs, some have to be clinical doctors, and one has to be an academic teacher. And you propose what you want to do for 3 years. And you have to describe exactly what you want to do. And you have to tell them how many mice you're going to use, what you're going to do to them, how you're going to do that to them. And ethically, they have to say, this is okay or this is not okay. And you're approved, and that's what you study for 3 years. And my boss has been doing this for 10 to 12. And so they kind of know what she's going to have in her protocol, but they have to discuss it and let you know if it's okay to do it or not.
So do you decide if you want to be part of that group, or does the university assign you?
No. How it works is Allison's allotted so much money for salary, and she has such a large group of mice that she needed someone that's what they do, is they make them. And so she posts a job opening. You want to do it, you apply for it, and then that's your position. Until A, there's no more money, or B, you want to do something different.
Where do you keep all the mice?
It's an animal facility. It's
Are they in like cages or boxes or?
actually,
That's what they're in?
yes.
Do they have like water and food?
Yes. In the back of each rack, up here, that regulates the airflow. And in the back, there is a water spout and there's a hole for air. And it has to be 60 air changes per hour.
The air is taken in and out.
Yes. And those machines are wonderful because it takes most of the stink out of them.
Do they have names or are they numbers?
They're numbers.
Have you named any of them?
Do you ever like name anything that you like, or is it just like?
We have one investigator that her original mice that came in, she named, because there was 4 males. And what she did was, you can either have a one-on-one mating pair or a harem. And the harem, you have 1 male and 3 females. So he gets jumped from box to box. And so they named those 4. But my mice, I just have too many.
Yeah. 'Cause, like,
I run out of names.
my dad said like if you name livestock and if you name them and you gotta slaughter them, it's like really sad when you do it. So that's like probably why they don't do it, right?
Probably.
Get a tag.
I mean, I could kill a mouse, but I couldn't kill a cow.
Especially if they have like a name.
Yeah. Because going out to see Henry and killing him, that's not so hot. Sorry, whose name's Henry? Sorry. Did you have a question?
Yeah. Is that like all the boxes you have, or do you have like more?
No, in my room I have 2 more racks and a single. And
Like, how many mice are like in each one of those like little slots you pull out? Is it just one per like slot, or is it like 20 of them in there?
my top 3 rows have 1 male, 1 female, and pups. Regulations mandatory that 4 males that are adults, and after 21 days, a mouse is considered an adult. 4 males can stay in a box. 5 females can stay in a box when they're adults, just because of the weight of the animal. Males are bigger than the females.
So they're really particular with the regulations.
Yes.
And what is the gestation period?
Gestation period is 21 days.
21 days, and then you've got a new litter.
Yes. And the reason why we keep the males and females together is when the female gives birth, within hours, that's her most fertile time. So you can literally have a litter every 21 days.
Every 3 weeks. And what are the average litter sizes?
Mine are, depending on the line, they can go from 8 to 15 per litter.
That's a lot of mice.
Yeah. And they get really stinky.
Henry, you have another question?
Yeah. Have they ever got like loose?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
How many do they want?
Normally when I'm changing them, you take 1 box out at a time. And usually when they hit 17 to 19 days old, they jump. and I've had jumpers before, and there's a lot of swearing, and you're on your hands and knees trying to catch a mouse.
There's like a mouse like ever like
Jump.
Oh, it's not appropriate, guys.
Mice are like cats. I mean, they can jump far and land on the ground and just be stunned for a second, and then they'll run. It's not going to, jumping from the desk to the floor is not going to kill them.
You said that whenever you keep the mice in like isolated,
Hmm.
that you try to keep them like almost free.
Yes.
Wouldn't that tamper with it if they got out of the box? You know,
No, because our whole facility is clean. So when I go to work, I can't wear street clothes. I have to wear scrubs. I have a designated pair of shoes that I wear. And so I can't, they don't want to bring the germs in. So,
So it sounds like you guys have all learned about the scientific method, right? Like a controlled experiment.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've had that. This sounds like this is that to the, like on steroids. Right?
hmm
So,
but actually we're not the worst, because I worked at facilities that you had to shower in, shower out. You had to wear scrubs, you had to wear gloves, mask, head bonnet, shoe covers, and a jacket.
so you're controlling for any outside kind of contamination,
Yes.
so that everything is exposed to exactly the same environment, so that what you're testing for, which is a cure for epilepsy,
Mhm.
is really what is coming out
Right.
of the experiment, not something else.
Right, because you're introducing variables that may change your experiment. And the other thing is, you're not allowed to wear perfume. You're not allowed to wear nail polish. You're not allowed to wear scented deodorants, because that all changes behavior.
What happens if you get sick?
Me?
Yeah.
Then you have to wear a mask. I can't transfer a cold to a mouse, and vice versa.
Is that section of like the facility hermetically sealed?
No.
So then, is it just how is do they not
Air
keep
pressure.
So it all is just air pressure.
Mhm.
Keeps the germs that are already there and the ones
Yeah.
that aren't. Okay.
Because we have positive air pressure, so anything in the hallway can't come in.
Pretty interesting that you have all of those controls for, it sounds like, it's for mice, but really in the end, you're trying to cure this disease.
Right.